What's up, everybody? In this video we're going to be discussing the push-pull legs exercise routine. So before we jump into the details about it, I want to give a general overview of what it is, and then we'll go into some more specifics and look at some exercise selection, and we'll come back and we'll recap and give a summary about the push-pull legs routine. I'll give a little bit of assessment from my personal opinion of the routine, as well as some pros and cons to the routine. So, got the trusty whiteboard here. So here is the basic structure of the push-pull legs routine. Day one is push day. So that focuses on upper body, so chest, shoulders, and triceps. All of the pushing movements. Day two is pull day. So that's your back and your biceps, the pulling movements. And then day three is legs. Day three will focus on quads, hamstrings, as well as calves. So everything lower body, everything legs. And then day four is a rest day. This is generally how you structure the routine, although there are a couple different variations. For example, you could do push, you could do push, pull legs, and then you could do push, pull legs again, and then take your rest day. So in that situation, you would be hitting 6 days in a row of lifting, and then you'd have a rest day. But this is generally how it works with just push, pull legs, rest, push, pull legs, rest. That way, if you follow this pattern, you're going to hit all of your muscle groups twice a week. And I should say too, even if you follow the other routine where you do push pull legs, and then a rest day, you're still hitting every single muscle group twice a week. Okay, so that's a general overview of the push pull legs routine. Rather than writing down all the individual exercises and rep ranges that I recommend, I'm going to list them at the side of the video here, so you can look forward to those. But let's get into the exercise selection now. So we'll focus starting off with the push day, so chest, shoulders, and triceps. It's pretty common that most exercise routines start with the compound movements, so that's always what I would recommend. That's pretty typical also with push-pull legs. So for push day, you've got the flat barbell bench press, and typically you would do 3 sets of 10 reps on the barbell bench press, and then you would do 3 sets of 10 reps on incline barbell bench press. So 2 great chest muscles, or 2 great exercises that hit the chest muscles. Great compound movements that you can overload and use heavy weights on. And those are for your chest. And then the next exercise would start with overhead shoulder press to hit your shoulders for 3 sets of 10 as well. And then 3 sets of 10 dumbbell or machine lateral raises, so to hit the side parts of your shoulders. And then would be triceps, so that would be 3 sets of 10 cable overhead tricep extensions, or even dumbbell overhead triceps extensions. And then to finish the push day and to finish the triceps would be 3 sets of 10 cable triceps pushdowns. These are the exercises that I recommend you do. Again, there's a lot of variations to these routines, and in terms of exercise selection, there's a lot of freedom that you can have. So if you prefer to use different exercises for how they feel, how they work with your body type, then absolutely switch them out. But either way, I still would recommend starting with the compound movements. Those are always very important to include in your routine, especially if you're trying to progressively overload, get stronger, and build some nice muscle mass. So I would definitely recommend you start with those. But some of the other extra exercises, you're free to choose and make the routine a little bit more individualized to yourself. I will say also, as you noticed, there's going to be 6 exercises that are picked for each day for push, pull, and legs. So it's pretty easy to remember. You just have 6 on each day, 2 for each muscle group. So there's 2 chest exercises, 2 shoulder exercises, and 2 triceps exercises. Okay, so that's the summary of the push day. Now let's move along to the pull day. Pull day and is for back and biceps. So I recommend starting off with, again, the compound movement, which is deadlifts. Deadlifts are a great exercise. They will work your hamstrings and your glutes a little bit, but they will definitely overload your lower back, some of your lats, and your upper back, as well as your traps. So it's just a great compound movement that works a lot of your body. So after you do 3 sets of 10 deadlifts, you can do 3 sets of 10 lat pulldowns. And the lat pulldowns can also be substituted with pull-ups, but I prefer to do lat pulldowns. There's a lot more variety with them in terms of if you can't do a pull-up, you can do lat pulldowns pretty easily. And if you can do pull-ups super easily, you can definitely go heavier on the weights with the lat pull-downs. So you're still getting a great benefit from those in terms of overloading your muscles and really getting a lot of volume in there. So 3 sets of 10 there to hit your lats. And then the next exercise for back would be barbell rows. Again, 3 sets of 10 reps. or you can do a seated row machine. So depending on what availability you have at your gym, and also how your lower back feels, because if you do the deadlifts, I should say, your lower back might be a little stressed, and especially if you're squatting as well with this routine, you can put a lot of strain on your lower back. So you might have to substitute something out there or switch things up every now and then. But you do want to do some kind of rowing movement. It's a great exercise also that will hit a lot of your upper back and give you some good back development. And then the next exercise I recommend is rear delt raises with dumbbells or a machine. Sometimes people will do this on the push day with their shoulder exercises, but I like to structure the rear delts on my back day or the pull days, so that way you're hitting more exercise or more muscles that work towards the back part of your body. There is freedom here as well, so you could put this on your shoulder day if you really wanted to. And I do 3 sets of 12 reps. I like to go a little bit higher in the reps on this because you generally don't need to use a lot of heavy weight for your rear deltoids. And you can get them with a nice pump, some good contractions, and they will develop nicely. Then after we finished off with the back exercises, we've got 2 exercises for your biceps. Everyone's favorite, arms and biceps. So the exercises I recommend are preacher bar curls. You could do this standing preacher bar. I prefer to start off with those standing because you can just it's a movement that's you're using more free weights. You get a good full range of motion and everything like that, and you can go heavy on those for 3 sets of 10. But you can also use a seated machine curl as well, depending on also, like I said, your gym availability and how you want to work your muscles too. So nothing wrong with the seated machine curls either, just provided you're getting 3 sets of 10 reps with good resistance. And then the last exercise I recommend for pull day and for biceps are dumbbell hammer curls. I absolutely love dumbbell hammer curls. They're a great exercise. They work your forearms and they work your biceps, and they also hit the outer part of your biceps, giving you that nice separation there, giving you a nice peak as well. So always recommend dumbbell hammer curls for 3 sets of 10 there. Make sure you're using great form when you're hitting the biceps. You're not doing a lot of swinging and things like that. So yeah, that pretty much summarizes what the pull day would look like, and that leaves us with one last day, and that is legs. Everybody's favorite, aside from biceps, obviously, is legs. So not really, but don't skip leg day. Can't say that enough. Anyways, so for leg day, I recommend squats. Squats are the king of leg exercises, and if you want big legs, you got to do your squats. Eat your oats, do your squats, and get your protein in. So I recommend 3 sets of 10 reps on the squats, making sure you're getting good depth. You're really contracting your muscles and you're overloading them. And then you can do 3 sets of 12 on the leg press. Going a little bit higher reps on the leg press so that way you can continue to hit the volume on your legs. I find a lot of benefit for leg muscles in particular if you play around with a little bit higher rep ranges. So I think there's some good benefit you'll see if you hit 12 reps on the leg press. And then 3 sets of 15 reps on leg extensions, so focusing more on the upper part of your legs, the front part of your legs, the quadriceps. And then 3 sets of 15 on hamstring curls. You can do these either on a seated leg curl machine or a laying leg curl machine, again, depending on your gym's availability and your personal preferences. So I'd recommend trying both of those out if you're not sure and you haven't tried those before, and just see which one feels better for you. And then will be 3 sets of 10 standing calf raises. That'll work the gastrocnemius, or the upper part of your calf muscle. And then since we worked that one, then we're going to go and do 3 sets of 12 seated calf raises, and that's going to work the lower portion of your calf, or the soleus muscle. Hitting all the different muscles of your calves, hitting all the different muscles of your legs, just making sure we're getting a good full workout for the leg day. So that summarizes the push pull and leg routine, or push pull and leg days, I should say. So some of the things that you'll notice with this routine is you're keeping it fairly short in terms of how many exercises you're working per muscle. So generally it's like 2 or maybe 3 exercises per muscle at most, and around 3 sets of 10 reps or so. So that's pretty decent volume. It's nothing too crazy. It's not like you're doing 6 exercises of 3 sets each or anything like that. And you also want to keep in mind that you're resting anywhere from 1 minute to 2 minutes between sets. And I recommend, if you're doing the compound movements, maybe you go towards the 2-minute rest time for those exercises. So that way you're nice and recovered for the next set, and you're able to really put 100% in, and you're not risking so much being injured. Because if you're just taking 30 seconds or 10 seconds rest between sets, that can increase the intensity, but it can also increase your risk of injury when you're doing the compound movement, like say a deadlift. And you always want to make sure you're lifting with proper form and taking the proper precautions. And then if you want to reduce the rest time as you're doing some of the accessory lifts, like say the dumbbell curls or something like that, you can definitely do that as well to increase the intensity. So that's just a general overview of the exercise routine. There are a couple other things you can add in, or nuances, I guess, that you could take from other routines or other lifting programs and apply them. I'll just give you a couple right off the top of my head. So you'll notice in this routine, everything's like a set rep range and a set number of sets, which can be great, especially if you're a beginner or maybe an intermediate lifter and you're not really too sure of how to structure something on your own. So this routine will definitely give you a lot of structure and things to follow. But as I mentioned in the beginning, the exercises that are chosen for you might not be ideal for you. So you're going to want to play with some of these different exercises and see what really feels best for you and what you prefer. As well, at the same time, I should say, since there's a set number of reps you're shooting for, that can also kind of make it a little bit tricky in the beginning, or at least in the first couple weeks, to figure out what weight you should use. So you're going to have to go through some trial and error, some testing, and just really try to figure out, what rep ranges with what weights feel the best for you and what exercises work best for you. Another option that you could use and you could implement into this routine to make it a little bit more effective and more challenging, maybe after you've run through the routine for a couple weeks and you're starting to get comfortable with it and with the the exercise selection and the rep ranges and everything like that, you can try using some advanced lifting techniques. For example, going to failure, even supersetting. So if you're finishing up, for example, I'll just use the dumbbell hammer curls and the preacher bar curls as an example. So you want to increase the intensity on those. Maybe you superset those exercises back to back. So you do the standing preacher curls, and then right after that you go jump right into the dumbbell hammer curls. That's a great way to add some intensity to your routine and to really burn the biceps more. Another option you could try, if you don't want to do supersets, you could do to failure. So maybe on the last set of those two exercises, you go to failure. Normally you only shoot to do 10 reps of the preacher curls. In lieu of doing that, you can just go for failure. Go as many as you can get. So if normally you hit 10, and then on your last set, oh wow, I got 15 reps, you're feeling pretty strong, you're feeling pretty good. So then that might also be a good way to not only overload your muscles, but that might also be an indication that in your next time when you do the pull day and you're hitting your biceps, maybe you need to increase the weight as well. So there's just a couple little things, tips and tricks, some other lifting techniques that you can apply to push-pull legs to help adapt it for yourself. But generally speaking, this is a great routine for a beginner or for a more intermediate lifter, someone who's already got a little bit of experience, already got their feet wet in the gym. It's got a good structure to it. Everything is pretty well listed out, and there's a lot of logic behind what you're doing. For example, on whether it's leg day or chest day, you're hitting your bigger muscles first with the compound movements, and then you're kind of isolating and separating out into the other ones. So for example, when you're doing bench press, majority of the muscles you work is your shoulders, or your chest, I'm sorry. The majority muscle you're working is your chest, but it also does work a little bit of your shoulders and your triceps as well. So there's a lot of logic behind doing a push day where you're hitting all those same muscles and you're doing a lot of compound movements where you're utilizing those muscles as well. So even though you're not doing a ton of different exercises and a ton of different sets for chest in particular, you're still allowing yourself to get a lot of good exercises that hit multiple muscle groups together. And then where some other routines, for example, might do 4 or 5 or even 6 exercises for chest and maybe even more sets, this routine really is unique in that you're hitting each muscle group twice a week. So even though you might not be doing as much volume on a day-to-day basis, over the course of a week, you're going to hit each muscle twice a week. You're not just doing it in a typical bodybuilding split where you'd be hitting each muscle once a week. So from that perspective, if you stick with it for a few weeks and you get the volume and the frequency of the lifting program, you'll start to really notice some results there as well. Another thing too, if you're only used to doing the compound movements or practicing them once a week, this is going to be a nice change of pace for you. If you're only doing bench press once a week and you start doing it 2 times a week, you're going to get some added benefit from the increased frequency. You're going to start to overload your muscles more, as well as you're going to start to become more efficient and better at the movement. Just like other athletes practice, whether you're wrestling or something like that, and you practice all these movements pretty often, they don't do that once a week. They typically do that pretty often. But just the same, if you're doing bench press more often, you're just going to get better at the movement. It's going to start to feel more natural for you, and you can start to improve from there. So those are some of the positives to the exercise routine, to push-pull legs. I already kind of briefly mentioned some of the negatives. Maybe you're not going into as many sets or as much volume for the specific muscles. But where that could be a negative, it could also be a positive as well, because you're hitting more frequency, and over the course of weeks and weeks, you're actually adding in more volume over time because you're hitting them more often. So that could be a benefit, as well as you're also learning how to do the exercise movements as well. So I really enjoy this routine. I used to do this routine a lot, and I have since modified it and kind of spaced it out a little bit to fit my own needs, as I elaborated in a previous video. Just one of the other things I will mention about this: if you're having certain lagging body parts, for example, I wanted to bring up my arms, and if you look at the structure of this routine, you're hitting chest, shoulders, and then triceps. You're hitting back and then biceps. So typically, if you have lagging arms, you're probably not going to get as much intensity or as much focus and drive into building up your arm muscles, because you're hitting them at the end of your workout. And again, you're not doing a whole lot of volume to break them down. So that's something you're going to have to see if that might be an issue for you. But I would definitely recommend, regardless, try the push-pull legs routine out for a couple months, see how you like it, see what you can learn from it. And then after you've kind of gotten used to it and you've tried some of these other advanced techniques that I mentioned before, start trying to switch it up and adapt it to fit your needs as well. A lot of people are scared to change things up. They think you have to be set in stone about a particular lifting routine. And there's even other people that say don't change anything. If it's working fine, then don't change it. But for me personally, with bodybuilding in particular, there's so many differences between person to person. You can't just have one size fits all approach for every single person. I think there's a lot of benefit to learning and trying new things, and just gaining knowledge of not only exercises, but how your body works and how your body responds to them, whether that is exercise or lifting routines or nutrition. So I think there's a lot of benefit to trying something, getting your feet wet, and then seeing how you can make it better for yourself. So just to give you an example, when I did the push-pull legs, like I said, I wasn't hitting arms as much as I would like, so I added an extra arm day. Not suggesting that for everybody, but something to keep an open mind about. There's definitely no perfect routine. There's no one-size-fits-all approach. Maybe you won't like training, each muscle group twice a week. Maybe you do prefer to hit them once a week. But definitely experiment with this routine. It's a fun one. It's definitely going to be a nice change of pace if you're not used to doing something or each muscle group twice a week. And it's definitely really good for the frequency. I think that's about all I wanted to say about push-pull legs. As always, I appreciate you guys watching the video. Please feel free to leave a comment down below if you have any questions, and I will do my best to answer them. So, appreciate you guys watching. Have a good one, and keep lifting.